because of the conversations that we had yesterday morning. And a lot of it was just kind of giving reassurance to people. It was just a totally different conversation. So that was super exciting. So I'm glad that we went over everything yesterday, especially the numbers, because people like to hear the numbers. And that, that led to some good opportunities.
It did. So when you say the numbers, like you were telling them, here's what happened in Sarasota, actives and pendings, like those numbers?
Yeah, so we went over those with one of my listing appointments that I had set, and the one listing appointment I set, she was pretty discouraged because she really wanted to sell the property like as soon as possible, and she's just like, well, now I have to put everything on hold. I'm like, well, why do you have to put everything on hold? And she's just like, well, because of the virus and everything else. I'm like, people are still buying homes. I'm like, it's actually really beneficial for you right now because our inventory is down. So now is really the perfect time. So that's how we set the appointment for tomorrow evening.
Okay, you're a genius, and I appreciate you so much. I was talking to a team yesterday up in Jacksonville, and the team, I called into their like meeting for their team, and the one guy, one of the agents said that he'll talk to people and they'll go, we want to put stuff on hold for the virus, and no right or wrong, just what he said was, I understand, that's fine, and we'll check in later or something like that. And I said, well, hold on real quick. Let's educate first, which is actually what you did. You educated your seller.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So, yeah, your seller said, I want to put on hold, and you went, well, hold on, we might not have to. And then she decides, all right, let's move forward. And I think that's what we got to do, is be willing to educate. Would you agree?
I 100% agree. It's just taking that extra initiative, an extra step, just to give people the reassurance right now because they need it.
Right. And if I were a listing, I'd go on the market right now if my motivation was there, because inventory is going to get even tighter and the buyers who are looking are serious. Thanks, Ashley. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
You got it. Okay, Ashley, is there anybody else had their hand up?
Nope, that is it.
Okay, well, I'm excited to be back with you, day number 2. And today, here's the thing. I want you to remember what it says. I'm going to hold up my book. Look what this is called. First of all, it's called a one-day workshop. We're doing it over 4 days, except it's called a one-day workshop. Now, I want you to think about what I mean by workshop. Workshop means we're going to roll up our sleeves and work together, and that requires us to talk and communicate and walk through things. So in order for me to really bring this material to you in the way that's most effective, it requires your engagement and involvement. So Ashley, you and I now have our system.
Yep.
And you're going to call the tech support at Zoom to tell them to speed up the unmuting process.
10-4.
All right. And we're going to continue to have you involved and engaged in talking to me this morning. It's really important. And then I'll lecture for some times and we'll go from there. And I want to pick up with the homework. Let me go forward a slide real quick if I can. Hold on. There we go. This was your homework, and you were each assigned a chapter based on the first letter of your last name. And we're going to go through now and work on that together. If you have the PDF manual, the one that Ashley emailed to you, I'm going to start on page number 21. And here's the goal, is that there's a couple of questions for each tactic. And you can either write in the answers or in your notebook. If you've got a notebook with you, write down the answers. Or if you have that edible PDF, fancy schmancy, you can type in the answers. And I'm going to call on people to answer these questions based on your last name. So we're going to go through all 12 tactics of the book very quickly. And then I'm going to dive into some tactics. And the first one we'll dive into at an elite level is the lead gen chapters. So we're going to start with chapter number 1, which is mindset, get real and get right. If your last name started with A or W, you were to do that chapter. If your last name started with A or W, you were to do that chapter. And you have 2 questions on page 21. So if everyone goes to their PDF workbook, page number 21, and we're going to go through. So I need you to raise your hand if you're going to help me answer these questions, and your last name starts with A or W. We're going to answer the 2 questions on page 21 for the mindset chapter. Ashley, do we have any hands up?
Not right now.
Well, come on, A's and W's. Let's get our hands raised. You did this chapter, and help me with it. Let's talk first about what it really means for mindset. And you've heard this. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If we'd like a different result, we've got to take different actions. And that's a mindset, right? You got to change your behavior and change your strategy. And now is the time to do that. Your behaviors and strategies of the past, your calendar, your tools, all that kind of stuff, and your mindset has to shift. Ashley, whose hand is up?
We've got Vinny.
All right, Vinny, you're up. You're going to help us out here on Get Real, Get Right, Mindset in Action. And as you read the chapter and answered the question, what did you say? What role does mindset play in a shift?
This is my foundation for my actions every day.
Oh, hold on. I didn't hear what you said. Would you say it one more time for me, Vinny?
Strategy and foundation. The mindset establishes my strategy and my foundation for my actions every day.
Got it. Your mindset establishes the foundation for your mindset and your actions every day. I love that.
Strategy and actions.
Got your strategy in action. Got it. Thank you, Vinny. Appreciate you. Ashley, do we have another hand up?
We do. Let's see. Appy.
Appy, how are you? I love you, Appy. It's so great to hear your voice and talk with you. Appy, what are some ways you can be mindful of mindset and stay focused on reaching your goals? That's the second question. What did you come up with?
Well, I came up with you have to actively prepare and be clear about your situation and what you need to do, what you're trying to accomplish in your goal. Then prioritize that, focus on it, and then take action.
Appy, I love you. It's so great to talk to you. I miss seeing you in my bold room. It's been a while. And what you said was really smart. It's about kind of getting prepared and making sure we do the right things. I want to read to you all page 282 of the Shift book. So you might, in your journal or wherever you're keeping notes or somewhere, write down 282. Ashley, will you type it in the box so that everybody can see Shift page 282? And here's what Gary says on page 282. Your determination, your preparation, and your implementation will put you on the right path to your goals. Hold on, Ashley, make sure you do it to all panelists and attendees so that everybody can see it. I'm sorry, we're still learning the Zoom. So you have to go in the to box and click it to all panelists and attendees. Your determination, your preparation, and your implementation will put you on the right path to your goals. You will consistently be in step with the consumer and ahead of the competition. Others may see things as good times and bad times. You will always see things as opportunity time. And that's a mindset. Thank you, Appy. Appreciate you very much. Okay, we're going to go on to remargin your business, which is the expense management chapter. That's B and E. If your last name starts with B or E, you're going to raise your hand. And I think this is the time we've got to remember to play red light, green light with our expenses, to stop paying money for things that aren't working, to make sure you're getting a return on your investment and that you're getting rid of stuff that you're either experimenting with or it doesn't work, and just focus on proven models. Ashley, who's got their hand up to help us with our questions on page 21 for expense management?
Neil.
All right, go ahead.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
We can. You sound fantastic.
So this is a super fast quote from page 34, and this was my aha. This year, I cut every marketing medium I used. He said every. And then when asked to continue, this speaker offered half of what he paid before. And he was surprised by how many people said yes. And so my takeaway there is that he's looking at his budget going, where all my marketing dollars go? Calling whomever he's paying them to and saying, I want to cancel. And then they want to keep his business. So just like the cable company does to us guys, they say, oh, but we don't want to lose your business. And they may offer a lower amount. And my aha is, we're negotiators by trade. Why aren't we doing this on a regular basis? So hopefully that is helpful.
Tennille, you're a genius. And by the way, thanks for all your posting on Facebook right now, too. It's really helpful. You are leading through this, and I thank you for it. What you said is really smart. And that is, we've got to go back and reevaluate our expenses and then renegotiate them. And I talked with Jason Abrams about this on Thursday and on the Shift Book Club. And he said, whenever we're cutting expenses, Tennille, it's got to be a win-win. So it's got to be a win for you And it should be a win for whatever service provider. So I'll give you a really easy example. We eliminated, so far, we're almost at $2,000. I don't have the thing, almost at $2,000 of monthly expenses that we've cut in our family between business and personal. And I'd like to get it to about $3,000. And the one of them that sticks out to me is I called the security company that does the home security on our house. And I just was going to cancel. I mean, I don't know. I barely even remember to set the alarm, right? Now, don't come break into my house, y'all. Don't come break into my house. I barely set the alarm. And so I called them, like, I'm going to shut it off. And they go, well, what if we just reduce the cost for you for 6 months? You've been a customer with us for a really long time. And so they cut my monthly expense by $50 a month for the next 6 months. So I kept it. And, you know, they've done their math to figure out, is it a win for them? And it is to keep me as a client, and it's a win for me. So Tennille, I think you've given us good advice. Thank you. Tennille, are you still there? Are you still unmuted?
I'm still here.
Okay, will you answer about, did you look in, as far as your technology and see if you could save any money there? That was the second question.
Yes. So I run a very trim, lean business. I'm very thrifty at home and very thrifty in my business to a fault sometimes. I do not have any technology expenses. I've always leaned on what Keller Williams has provided since day one as far as database and marketing. So I have nothing to cut in my personal business.
I love it. Tennille, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Ashley, was there another hand up for this one?
Yes. Leslie Brown.
Leslie Brown. All right. We're going to go to Leslie. You're unmuted. Leslie, what's your answer for the questions for expense management?
Good morning, James.
Good morning.
So I think the biggest thing is to get rid of any other CRM that you are using and move things to Command.
Why pay time to learn that stuff, right?
Yeah, just move it on over.
Right. I think the thing that's cool is when Gary made the switch to us being a tech company, and then we built everything, Command, Command, which has the CRM and it's got designs, it's got opportunities, you know, it's got all these things. Keller Williams didn't change any fees. So the amount we were paying for technology didn't change, and yet everything we got changed. And now for $25 a month, you're getting what some agents are paying thousands of dollars a month for. So choosing to invest in it this time is really smart. Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate you very much. And then the thing would be, if you were spending a bunch of money on tech, how can you then go back and maybe reinvest that in your business? Now, let me go through some things you wouldn't cut. And this is a challenge I think people have sometimes, is they go, well, I'm going to go cut the most expensive thing. I imagine we have some people on this line. We got about 1,000 people who are on the webinar this morning. And I imagine that we have some of you that are in mastery coaching with MAPS, for example. Well, you wouldn't cut that. I understand it's $1,000 a month, and yet you wouldn't cut it because, and Dawn's typing it in right now, or Danielle's typing it in right now, and I love her. So she says, don't cut coaching. You don't cut it because you get a return on that. And when I look at what the expenses we cut and the money we're saving, most of that, quite frankly, is coming from cutting things that cost $6.99, $9.99, and so on. So good stuff. All right, Ashley, we're going to do the third tactic, which is the leverage chapter, do more with less. We're on page 23 in the manual. And you read this chapter if your last name started with D or O. And so you're going to help me answer these questions. And it's really, if you think about it, having the right systems, the right people, and the right tools to be able to help you. So who's raised their hand for us, Ashley?
Jessica Donald.
All right, Jessica. So tell me question number 1 on page 23. Why is it important to surround yourself with the right people?
I think it's important. Well, I said it earlier in the chat and you actually read it, you know, it's all about doing, you know, less. And I'm recently in this industry. And when I first came in, of course, you know, I'm a woman, so I think all the cute little signs and all the keychains and all the pretty little things that you can get when you sell that house are really cool, and you fill yourself up with that, but you really don't need all of that. It really is about who you know that needs to buy a house, wants to buy a house, needs to sell their house, and who are you surrounding yourself with. I believe that if you surround yourself with people who have been in the industry for a long time, they know what works already and what is really needed. And they're going to guide you into that. And thank God I have a great leader. I've teamed up with a team, the dynamic team with Eric Sigismondi. And he's really great. Like he's pretty much, I call him and I got a question and he answers it. And I mean, he's really guiding me. So I don't need all these fancy little things to get me on my way. It's really just the knowledge and talking to the right people that can put me on the right path and set me with the right mindset, you know?
Jessica, you're smart. The people who you hang out with matters. And we've got to surround ourselves with the right people. And Gary always says it's never about the number of people. It's about having yourself surrounded by the right people. Correct. And I want to go back to something Lisa Spencer just messaged to me, and I think it's really important. And that is, you know, if you have a MAPS coach as an example, that's surrounding yourself with the right people. And Lisa, thank you for the reminder. You know, Gary is basically paying, if you're new to MAPS, you want to come to MAPS brand new and you qualify, because there are some standards you have to hit to hire a MAPS coach, then they're gonna give you the coaching for free in April and May. You're not gonna pay the $1,000. That's a return. And if you're currently a Mastery client, they've cut your Mastery bill. They've reduced it for the next 2 months to help you get through. That's hanging out with the same people. Leslie Brown, who's very, very smart, says, make sure everybody's on the same page and involve them in expense management. So that's combining leverage and expenses together. And Leslie, you're really smart about this. In fact, Ashley, Leslie is already up in our chat box. Could we unmute her? And I'd like to have her explain why that's so important. Leslie, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so what you typed in that chat box is very smart. Can you talk a little bit more about it? Because it ties leverage and expenses together.
Yeah, well, my section, like I said, was to reduce the expenses. And I am going to be meeting with my team today, and we're going to be going over every little penny that we're spending to figure out where we can cut costs. And I know they're gonna have a little pushback on that because they believe it helps bring us more business. We're gonna have to find lesser expensive ways to create more income and more leads.
Yeah. So Leslie, I love it. It's really smart. Page 42 and 43, would you jot those down? You've probably already read them because you know what you're doing. Page 42 and 43 are the model for your conversation with your team.
Thank you.
Ashley, would you put that in the chat box for me? The model for a conversation with the team from a Rainmaker is page 42 and 43. I think that's really, really, really important that we do that. And, you know, Leslie, I'll give you an example. I remember when we just straight up didn't buy office supplies. Like we just stopped buying office supplies, Leslie, because here's what we found. Title companies will give you a pen, your home inspector, what do you call them? The home warranty company is going to give you Post-it notes. Like we stacked up. I remember one time the home warranty company came in and they go, do you need any Post-it notes? I'll go, oh my gosh, I'd love some. And she says, how many do you want? And I said, how many do you have? And they're happy to give that stuff away. So that's just a little silly example of an expense that can be cut, right?
One more comment on that. We're supposed to be sending out a mailer this week, in which we send a large one, usually when we send our mailers. So we scrounged around the office and we found all these leftover postcards that we hadn't sent out yet, and we're going to use those for our mailers.
Love it. Absolutely love it. That's genius. Thank you so much, Leslie. Chris McLaughlin, I love Chris, a great OP, says there's never been a better time to cut expensive lead generation in favor of Facebook lead generator through command. And he's talking about the price you can get. Chris, I talked to a guy this morning that's telling me he's paying about 62 cents per lead through Facebook and command. 62 cents per lead. So I think that's a value. Love it. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going on to chapter 4, H and V. If your last name starts with H and V, you read chapter number 4. I'm on page number 23. And it's how is lead generation different in a shift? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that one. Ashley, let me know when a hand goes up so we can talk about chapter 4.
I don't have one yet.
Well, I know somebody with the last name H and V is going to raise their hand because this is maybe one of the most important chapters in the book. And it's really about making sure you narrow your lead gen focus.
Okay, here we go. All right, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny. I got to find you. Jenny. Oh, she's still muted. Here's the Zoom. It's so fun. I love them.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
There we go,
Okay.
Jenny. You're there.
Hi, good morning.
Oh, Jenny's here. Jenny, we're talking about how lead generation is different in a shift. Bottom of page 23. This was your chapter. What did you come up with?
The message that you put out there, how important that's going to be right now. Let's see, why somebody would want to work with you. What would they get if they did? I think that message that we're going to put out there in our marketing is going to be really important to attract the right buyers and sellers.
Absolutely. Jenny, thank you. That's really smart. I appreciate you very much. What's our message and how are we going to get it out there? We're going to go deep on that in a little bit. Thanks, Jenny. Ashley, do we have another hand up?
We have Dawn.
Okay, Dawn. How are you, Dawn? Thanks for being on. And I want to talk to you about why fewer customers are motivated to buy and sell. Dawn, what did you come up with there after reading your chapter?
Well, for me, it was just their fear of the unknown. They need to be educated on that it would be a good time. You know,
Ashley Carr talked about that with us a little bit earlier, that when they become educated about what's truly happening in the market right now, they may choose. And I want to say something I think is really important, Dawn, and I know you'll agree with me. And that is, there are people we'll talk to who say, I need to put my home sale or my home search on hold, and we need to agree with them. If they've got an underlying health issue, something like that, that says, no, I need to lock myself in my house for the next while, then we're going to say, okay, that sounds good. Some people, though, just say, I'm going to stop looking because they have uncertainty, they're fearful. And when we educate them, they may choose to move forward.
That's right.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add on what you read in that chapter, Dawn?
I just had my ahas of going back to looking and identifying my lead source zone and really narrowing it down to the top. Well, they said 5, but for me it was 3.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that today.
Yep.
Really important. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate you. Thanks for stepping up and sharing. All right. What good are the leads if we don't actually convert them into business? We got to actually convert them into business. And so we're on page 25 now, chapter 5. Chapter 5 was C and K. So if your last name started with a C or a K, you're going to share with us now. And these are the things that look, if we get a bunch of leads, that's great. If we don't convert them, what's the point? We got to actually turn these leads into business. Ashley, who has their hand up and is going to answer the questions on page 25? Is this Jessica?
Yes.
All right, Jessica. So what do you have? What effect does a shift have on lead conversion?
Well, I think the leads right now, at least in this one, they are a little bit more motivated, but what we have to keep in mind is to not forget that and not just get complacent in our normal, like, oh, hi, you know, thanks for calling, and not to really attack them and take care of them. Because I think when a lot of people are calling, we as realtors are just like, oh, thanks for calling. Yeah, answer the questions and get off the phone. But we have to really be making sure we're getting that appointment and not taking it for granted, because we shouldn't take any of those phone calls for granted in a shift.
No, because every time the phone rings, that costs you money. And so you've got to either, what we have to determine is it an appointment now or an appointment later? We're happy with either one. Ken is adding, I love Ken from Sarasota. He says, people grow into the conversations we create around them, bold law, and ours must be with facts, not fear and speculation. And I think Ken's made a really, really, really great point that we've got to be rooted in the truth and not fear and speculation, not guessing what's going to happen. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Jessica. Is there another hand up, Ashley? Lily, I see Lily Austin there. Ashley, I can't hear you anymore. I don't know what's going on. Lily, though, I see you on my screen. What role does value proposition play in lead conversion? What did you come up with there?
Hi, good morning, James, and I thank you very much for contributing everything that you have and for
My
the
pleasure.
Webinar. I watched something last night, and it really struck me because I am kind of new, and I get a little insecure about approaching people, both listing and buyers. And what I heard was that we need to to present ourselves as professionals. And that really kind of gave me a feeling of more security in myself, even though I am new. But to come through as a professional, not just somebody calling you for the heck of it, but that I do have knowledge and that I do have something to offer.
Okay, so I want to share something with you, and thank you for saying what you said. It's really smart. I want to give you Gary Keller's definition of a professional, and this is important for every single person who's watching this. There's 1,000 of you on here. Every single one of you who's watching this has got to listen to this. I don't care if you're new and just got your license this morning, or if you've been selling real estate since Earth started. Gary Keller's definition of professional matters more right now than it's mattered in a long time, and that's this. A professional knows what they know, knows what they don't know, and knows the difference between the two. And when a professional knows, they'll tell you, and when they don't know, they'll go find out. There is uncertainty in this market right now about what's going to happen, where things are going, and so we've got to be a professional. Know what we know what we don't know the difference between the two. When we know, we'll tell you. When we don't know, we're going to go find out. And that's a huge aha, Jessica. You're exactly right. She typed in the thing. It's a huge aha. It really is. Okay, I'm going to go now to the internet, Ashley. So we're on chapter number 6, last names F and G. F and G. And you know, a lot of people will spend money on technology when maybe they can get by with spending less. And so thinking about how can we make sure we get a massive return on our tech. And so I want to open it up. How would you know if your if your website is effective, and what sort of information do people expect to get from it? That's the question, bottom page 25. Ashley, whose hand is up?
Corey.
All right, go ahead. Oops.
So I loved what page 110 said in the Shift book, that the hard truth is buyers don't care if you have a website. They just want to search for homes and know their home's value. So that's a big aha for me, because if my website isn't producing that for them, and they don't want to set an appointment because they loved what they saw, the website's purposeless.
It doesn't work. It's obsolete. It's irrelevant, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. If your website is not producing leads, it's not effective. And you know, I think that there's been some discussion since we changed the website up. People go, well, where's all this stuff? And going, people don't care. You know, your website isn't about you. It's not supposed to be about you. It's supposed to be about providing information to people that help them decide to work with you. Nobody cares about you. I'm sorry, I said that. Nobody cares about you. The only people who care about you, quite frankly, are your spouse and your dog. And really, it depends on who you're married to, if they even care. So the website's got to be information about you or about the market. What homes are available, and what's my home worth. And the thing is, now we want it even more local than ever, which is why you share the app and you make sure you have neighborhoods set up in Command. And that's coming in right now. Paul's saying the same thing. Share the app, get neighborhoods set up in Command, and put them on a smart plan. And my guess is your market center has training on this to help you. Pardon me, I got to take a drink. Everybody take a sip of something right now. Just relax. There you go. Everything's good. And they got to get that info. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for sharing. That's good stuff. All right, Ashley, we're on number 7. We're halfway home on this part. Then we're going to dive into chapter 4. And the reason, by the way, we're doing it this way is because I'm not going to visit every chapter, and I want you to have some info, though, from every chapter. So chapter 7, price ahead of the market, seller pricing strategies. Let's see, this is last names M and X, and that is really pricing ahead of the market, using the data we have to help us with that. Who's raised their hand for us, Ashley?
Let's see. Sanjeev?
All right, you're up. So why is pricing ahead of the market important in a shift? This is top of page 27. What did you come up with?
Hey, good morning, James. Sanjeev here. I had a listing recently, and we're talking about the virus, and I told my people that the first 4 weeks is the most important, like, you know, in terms of visibility, and, you know, it's like a new car, you know, everybody excited about it. And the husband and wife listened to me, and wife basically, I guess understood me better than the husband, and we were able to, I guess, persuade them to have a good price. But I'm still having some trouble with the husband saying that he still wants a little bit more than, maybe he's a little bit more greedy. I kind of told him that, the people will be coming less, so like let's price the right point. And my aha was like, that I was able to tell them the effect of, there'll be less people coming into the house. So let's price it at the right point, and I guess I did get some traction on that. And that's all from me.
So what you're talking about and what's really smart, and thank you for sharing it, is the window of opportunity. And every home has a window of opportunity, and it's usually right when it goes on the market. Now, we are tomorrow going to get into this chapter at a much deeper level. And yet remember, there is a window. And what we always teach is 2 weeks and no showings, we're overpriced. 10 showings, no offers, we're overpriced. And when we can teach our sellers that dialogue, well, now we get out of the emotion of the price and we get into the data of what's telling us to make some changes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Ashley, do we have another hand up? Yes. Dave. All right, Dave. They're going to unmute you, Dave, and I want you to help me with what skills or knowledge do you need to be able to homes appropriately? Oh, he's still muted. This is so cute.
It will not let me unmute him. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. No worries. Well, then we won't hear from Dave. No problem.
There we go.
Oh, there he is, Dave. You're there.
Oh,
Dave,
okay. I didn't realize I had. I didn't realize I had to click a button there.
No worries. You got it. What skills or knowledge? 1 second. What skills or knowledge do you need to price homes appropriately, Dave?
You need to know the current price, which requires a thorough, kind of rational, like fact basis analysis. And then you also have to have a skill and ability to predict where the market, the direction of the market, and actually the speed.
Right. So we've got to have the data to back it up. And then we need the skill to be able to kind of see what's going on. And then we also need the skill to be able to communicate that to our people, right? We've got to be able to have that dialogue. Dave, thank you so much. Ann says, pricing homes is like playing soccer. Do you follow the ball with a beehive? Or do you anticipate and plan your actions? It's really smart. That's really smart. When Naomi played soccer, it was a short stint. We retired her jersey. We have it hanging in our bonus room. When she played soccer, it was so fun. The kids would just follow the ball. All the kids, all 82 kids would follow the ball and just run around. And what you're saying is, let's anticipate and plan. I love that. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Ann. Smart stuff. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're going on to number 8, which is staging, standing out from the competition. Last names N and R. N and R, you did this one, pricing and staging, and that's really helping. Look, price is one thing. Staging is what causes it to stand out. And right now, we're in a virtual world, so how the home looks in pictures and things like that matters more than it's ever mattered, maybe. Ashley, who's got their hand up? I see Diane has popped up for us. And so Diane, as soon as you get unmuted, there you are, you're unmuted. How are price and condition intertwined? Page 27, how are price and condition intertwined?
Well, the buyers see it as, this is money I'm going to have to put out if they don't correct problems that are in the house ahead of time. And I used this yesterday. I have a client redoing her whole kitchen floor next week. So she's changing it. So we brought that up already as to they are going to deduct the whole price more than the cost of something. In their impression, this is what it's going to cost them, not what it really is going to cost. And just looking and seeing the pictures, they're there forever. They're on the internet, and that's what people see, and that's how they're trying to get to your house. So you've got to make it look good the first time.
Well, and that matters even more right now because our number of traditional showings is going down. So how it looks is really, really important, Diane. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Doreen says price must match the house condition. That's absolutely true. I love that. I see Wes and Kathy are popping up, and so as soon as we get them unmuted, we'll talk with them a little bit about it. So Wes and Kathy, I don't know which one we get to talk to. What are some ways you can help sellers understand the importance of staging?
Well, hi, James, it's Wes.
How are you, Wes? Good to hear your voice.
Good. Part of the problem is that the people that live sloppy, they don't see the mess. So you have to get their mindset changed a little bit. It's kind of pigs don't know pigs stink. So we have to kind of bring them to that level and show them that maybe bring them into a comparison of, say, selling a car.
Yeah.
You're going to wash it, you're going to wax it, you're going to vacuum it, make sure it smells good, put new tires on it. And that's what happens with the house. One of the things I talk to sellers about is what I call list theory, where if you've got 8 or 10 things that need doing in the house and you do 2 of them, you still have a list. So if there's only one thing, maybe it needs carpet and they can't afford that. They can do everything else. Then it's just one thing and the buyer might be able to better see beyond that. So there's a huge psychological effect with that pristine house, and it even appraisers are swayed by it. So some discussion about the importance of this with your seller is an ultimate discussion that needs to be had.
It is. And by the way, Wes, you just said the most Hernando County thing ever said in the history of Earth. A pig doesn't know a pig smells. I just think I got to point that out to you. Thank you for sharing that with us. And it's a conversation that's important. So thank you for walking through that with us, Wes. I appreciate you very much. Some things that are coming in, they need to see their homes from the eyes of a buyer. You're exactly right. We got to teach them how to do that. And curb appeal is everything Pete says. You know, again, the way we're showing off these houses is changing right now, so staging matters. All right, thank you. We're going on to chapter 9 now, which is one we will spend some time on either today or tomorrow, just depending on our timing. And that is overcoming buyer reluctance and creating urgency. And so this is last names S and U. And we're talking about how, look, we cannot motivate buyers. Their motives are theirs and theirs alone. We can help them, though, overcome their fears right now. So thank you, by the way, for telling me I'm on the wrong slide. There we go. So somebody tell me real quick, or Ashley, who are we going to talk to about overcoming buyer reluctance? Top of page number 29. I see Pete has popped up. Pete, talk about your best opportunity to find out a buyer's motivation.
Hey, James, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Pete. Good to hear your voice.
You too. I think one of the things that happens in this environment, well, for one thing, it's been a seller's market so long in this area at least, and where some buyers are now kind of being more reluctant, it's a great opportunity for those who are still willing and able to buy to pick up a house, where before there was so much, it was difficult for them to actually be the winning bid on a house per se. And the other thing that resonated with me from the chapter was the fact that people can be paralyzed by the amount of information they're getting. So as as a local expert, we need to help them sort through the cascade of information that they're reviewing and stay attuned to what's actually relevant and pertinent to them buying their home, and make them understand why in some situations this is actually a great time for them to buy. Interest rates are still low, and if they have the means, now is a perfect time to still buy a home.
Yeah. So much information out there, Pete, and so many articles out about different things. We have to kind of get through all the noise and get them the facts, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, love it, Pete. Thank you so much. Okay, Lisa Spencer, you're up next, and I'm so glad you're up next because you'll be able to help me go through the typo in here, because there is a typo on page 29. It says, what do the terms ready, willing, able, and ready mean? So let me walk through what we mean. What we really want to say is able, ready, and willing. Able first, ready second, willing third. What do those things mean to you, Lisa? The second question on page 29.
Okay, well, this is one of my favorites because a lot of times agents will convince themselves, oh, I'm working with 20 buyers. Well, they're only working with 20 interested in houses people. And so able is all about pre-qualification, and I'm so glad I was chosen for this answer because I have the magic script. Have you spoken with a mortgage lender to confirm your purchasing power? Is always the best way to find out if they're able. The next thing is willing, though, and willing is something that agents don't tend to dig into as much as they should. So willing is, are they really are they really willing to do what it takes in this market? And at the risk of going too long, I won't go into some of my favorite scripts on that.
Well, go ahead, give us your script.
Okay, so on Able, I like to test the water on that with, you know, all of the smart money is getting in the market at this time. And the reason that smart money enters the market is they can recognize when blood is running in the streets. Unfortunately, that's the expression that Warren Buffett uses. And the smart money knows that when there is a contraction in the market, it's like the golden age for buyers. And this golden age is that it used to be that buyers had to pay over asking and compete for property. But because we've had this slowdown, there's actually an opportunity for you to perhaps even negotiate on a property. Now, once the market returns, the golden age is over, and then we're going to go back to the typical supply and demand.
So we've got to, we got to take advantage of this opportunity if it's right for you. Yeah.
Right. And also interest rates, you really need to get with your lender. And I hope, James, with some of your influence, you can talk to Keller Mortgage about coming up with some kind of collateral that we can share about the impact of interest rates on home purchase ability. And the fact that they've been so volatile in the past week, I think we can really create some urgency with that. So that's Able. And then, so we're ready, willing, and which one did I do?
You did Able first, and you did willing. What's ready?
Oh, ready is when we discover if they have a lease on their property. Sometimes, or if they're currently involved in a lease, we have to have those difficult conversations like, hey, can you move in with your parents for a little bit while we settle this? Because we have to have all three conversations, or any three of those could trip us up. We'll get a great contract negotiated and they'll say, oh yeah, but I got 6 months on my lease. And they think that they can just go ahead and take advantage of that when we can't.
Awesome. Lisa, thank you. You've given us so much value in that time. I appreciate you very much. It's really important.
I appreciate you.
We're going to talk about financing in a minute. So I know some of you are typing in the box about financing. We're going to address some of that stuff in a minute. And it is kind of going up and down, up and down. And then a lot of them, Lisa, are saying, can we have your script? So I know Lisa would be happy to share it. I'm sure she would. Maybe, Lisa, you could type that out and send it to Ashley. And maybe, Ashley, you can include it in our recap notes or something like that. So would that be okay, Ashley?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Just email
awesome.
it over to me, Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa, I'm sure Lisa would be happy to. Yeah, she's already written, of course, she'd be happy to do that. So thank you, Lisa. Appreciate you very much. Let's talk about financing now, chapter number 10. That was last names P and L. If your last name is P and L, we're going to talk financing. And look, I want to tell you, none of us on the phone are experts in this. And here's the most important thing. You got to get yourself with an expert. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff pop up. Buyers can't get financing right now. That's not true. It's not true. It may not be possible with whomever they work with, and yet it's absolutely not true. They can still get financing. Jumbo loans, can't get jumbo loans. Not true. Maybe some of the people we're talking to can't. There's money out there to be had. Someone will always give you the money. You have to go find them. That's the big thing. You got to go find them. Who's got their hand up? I see Jenny is up. So Jenny, we're talking financing. Why is it important to you? Why is it important for you to be knowledgeable about creative financing in a shift? And how should you protect yourself when making financing recommendations? Jenny, what's your answer to that question?
Well, first of all, you know, we have to surround ourselves with the right people. We have to have a financing team. I've got a couple of lenders that are, you know, I stay in contact constantly with through the week. It's important for us to have those valued lending partners. And one of the things that I took out of the book was in a shift downward, not many houses are selling. Buyers may fall outside of the traditional financing. So creative financing means thinking outside of the box and inside of the deal.
So we have to know what our options are. And quite frankly, Jenny, be aligned with smart people. Would you agree?
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome, Jenny. Thanks for sharing. I love you. I know this might be a time for you to begin using Keller Mortgage. I had somebody pop up and say, hey, they're helping me out. No worries. Okay, Liliana, you're up for me. What do you want to add?
Hi, good morning. I want to add on the creative financing that we need to disclose, and disclaim our responsibility for it so that we are not liable.
Right. Well, that's why the question said, how do you protect yourself? Right. So we're going to help introduce them to the expert, and then we're going to let the expert take over. Right.
Correct.
You got it. Thank you, Liliana. Appreciate you very much. 2 more to go, and then we're going to jump into some stuff. Master the market of the moment. This is chapter 11, T and J. If your last name starts with T and J, you're going to help me with that. And, you know, we're not going to dive deep into this. We're going to kind of surface this because the book talks about short sale, foreclosure, and REO, where that might not be our market right now. Cynthia, why is it important to be well-trained and well-versed in the market of the moment? That's the question on the top of page 31.
Okay, so a couple of things that stood out to me are, it said negotiating a short sale is one of the greatest services you can provide to a struggling seller. For many agents, it becomes a personal mission to save as many as possible from foreclosure. But the other thing that comes into that is before you start REO, short sales, and foreclosures, take courses, read, talk with experts in the business. Don't just try to jump in. And this might be a time for some of us to do that exploration.
You specialize, Cynthia, you don't dabble. That's what I've always said. Specialize, don't dabble. And really make that part of what your business is if you choose to go on that model. And, you know, Cynthia, to be fair, right now we're not in that kind of market really. And if we lose 3 million jobs every week for the next 2 months, could we end up back in that market again? And she would say yes if she were unmuted.
Yes.
Okay, there you are. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. Linda, you're popping up on my screen. I know you want to add something to this. So Linda, what do you want to say about chapter 11?
Good morning, James.
Good
I've
morning.
been in real estate since 1992, jumped out in 2012 just because I was tired of the foreclosure REO market. That being said, when it did shift from one market to the next, when I was still all in, I decided to be all in, which meant that I was going to morph into the market that it was at the time, which means I became a short sale negotiator and an REO specialist. And my takeaway right now is, even though I just jumped in right before family reunion this year, I am definitely going to morph into whatever this market presents.
Well, you stay in the lane of the market, Linda. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Bonnie says, does anyone think we'll be in a foreclosure market in 90 days if the virus doesn't let up? So I'm not going to speculate. I have no idea. I don't know what's going to drive it. And anyone who gives you an answer is guessing. So I want us to think about paying attention to what data points we need to watch. One is definitely unemployment, right? If unemployment is 3 million jobs a week are disappearing, then we might get into something. I have no idea. The other thing though is the government's working with us right now to help people with their mortgages. So for some people right now, if and I'm not an expert on this, I shouldn't even go into detail. There are some mortgages right now that quite frankly, for a year, you might not have to pay and there may not be a penalty. And then there are some that are just doing a forbearance and that's really not that great of a deal. So I want you to, before you start telling people what you think will or will not happen, I want you to have data that backs it up. I want you to have the information that backs it up because otherwise you're guessing and I don't know. Foreclosures and REOs and short sales will always exist, always. Will they become a huge part of the market? I haven't the slightest idea. All right, let's do the last one, and I'm so excited about it, and that is, I know, there it is, thank you. Bulletproofing the transaction. Bulletproofing the transaction, which is tactic number 12, the last tactic, and I know this has been a challenge for you. Last name I and Q, last name I and Q, and we're looking at, you know, the importance of really keeping it together. Terry, you're up. Why is bulletproofing the transaction even more critical in a shift?
I really want to start with the beginning of this chapter and how wonderful the use of quotes are, you know, the positive quotes with authority. And Lincoln's quote, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 sharpening my axe. These quotes in this book are wonderful. But the basis of the chapter was how to be able to navigate proactively with prevention and responses to the issues that arise. And during the inspection, appraisal, loan approval, continuing the contingencies, the co-op agent, deadlines, presenting solutions with a positive outlook. You know, as Brian Boma said in the chapter, don't throw gas on the fire. To be positive and always heading towards a positive and positive closing with all the issues that can be addressed right up front. You need to know how to use those solutions. And there was great ideas on page 246 in the Shift book about what those solutions are versus the things that you shouldn't do. So the using your checklists, the parties to the transaction, your contract to close checklist, and make sure that you're following it and being prepared to handle each of the items and make sure they get done. So you need to have proactive prevention with early responses to bulletproof your strategies.
And Terry, we're seeing deals fall apart right now for different reasons. Some people just of fear and some for other things. So what were, as you looked through it, what were some of the common issues to look out for, bottom of page 31, that I think people might be able to look for?
Well, to be sure that you are right up to date with pre-inspections that the seller may have done ahead of time.
All right, stop there, Terry, stop there real quick. I want to talk about this. She said pre-inspections. Look, this is a must right now. A must that we do a pre-inspection if we have a listing, to have that inspector go out now. We upload, if they can, right, if they're able. Then you can upload that right in the MLS, Terry, and then maybe the buyer chooses to not have an inspection and takes the one the seller did, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. What's another one?
And always to be sure that you have pre-negotiated your limits, you know, the limits of cost of what they want to repair or not repair, and to supervise those vendors and prepare and reassure the buyers, to provide, you know, the appraiser with research and find additional buyer funds if need be, and appeals to the appraisal, to select an originator and get a pre-approval, and assist the buyer with paperwork so that you don't have, that he's got credit counseling and he doesn't wind up with issues, you know, right at the end. And there's a lot of, you know, take backup offers. That's something else that people really need to remember to do, and who you communicate with, and having those things on file. The preliminary title search, most contracts have that, and agents sometimes forget that they need to provide that on time to kind of clarify the messages and the intentions, own the process, and communicate all the options so that you can confirm appointments and progress and build layer by layer flexibility, and set dates, limits, penalties, manage the closing checklist. That's basically what it's about.
Terry, I'm going home. Actually, I am home. I'm going to go downstairs and you're taking over. How does that sound? Oh my gosh.
No, thank you.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Now there's one more. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate you. There's one more thing I want to address. I'm getting a lot of questions first about pre-inspections. I'll cover it. Just a second. Give me a second. One other thing though I want to address, and that is the co-op agent. We have challenges with co-op agents maybe messing deals up. Look, I see Andrew typing it in right now. Co-op agents and their sales skills. You're exactly right. What I'm going to recommend you do right now for any pending is make sure you've reached out to the co-op agent. Both of you get on the same page and we're moving in the same direction, and that's toward a closing. That's really important. Have that conversation. Now, a couple of you going pre-inspections. Why do you want to pre-inspect? Let's talk about that for a minute in bulletproofing. How many times, right, do you have a house that looks great, buyer does an inspection, something comes up on the inspection, causes some sort of challenge, and then boom, the contract disappears. What we want to do is a couple of things. Let's inspect it now. Have the home inspector go on out right now, do the inspection. The seller finds out what issues might show up, and then they have two choices. Fix it or disclose it and reduce the price to accommodate for it. And if you do that, now we've eliminated the inspection to becoming an issue that causes the deal to fall apart. And Gary says in the shift, a pre-inspection is almost mandatory. Ashley, we got through all 12 steps. How great was that?
I loved it.
Oh, I see Ernie popped up. Do we want to add Ernie to share something with us? Hey, Ernie, good to see you, buddy. What did you want to add?
Hey, James. Basically,
It's 10 hours.
I don't know if you heard me, but basically I'm going through with one of my listings, and we touched up on a lot of the topics, but the most important one, like you said, is the co-op agent. I met with her, we discussed her, and what I started doing was giving her embedded commands like, hey, we have to get this to close. It's not about, yes, we service both sides, your client, my client, but we have to be the stronger one to guide them to get this to close. And I just kept her focused on that. And because now buyer agents are like literally trying to nitpick on all these little things that normally we would just say, hey, it's as is. I mean, I'm fixing a faucet just because of that, but the seller's more than willing to fix it. So it's like, be flexible, but be the guiding source for other agencies that don't think like us.
We don't want deals to fall apart over goofy things, Ernie. And so if we can keep people focused in the right direction, we're good. Thanks, Ernie. I appreciate you. All right, so here's what we've done. We've reviewed the 12 chapters, and my guess would be you were better in some than others. Now, there are 4 that I'm going to go through and look at, or 2 or 3 rather. I'm going to go look at it at a much deeper level. And as we do that, I want you to think about us going from E to P. Now, if you've ever taken 6 personal perspectives, or if you've taken BOLD, we've talked about going from E to P, and Gary has this in the one thing, and he has it in MREA, and we're covering it in Shift. And that's this, right? That look, we have our natural ability to be able to do things. And you've got your drive to run your business, you've got your enthusiasm, you've got your intuition, your natural behavior, and your spontaneity. And all of that stuff exists, and that's gotten you to a certain place. Now, when you get to that place, you end up hitting a ceiling of achievement. And when you hit that ceiling of achievement, you can have 2 choices. When you hit the ceiling of achievement, you can get frustrated and annoyed and think that this isn't going to work and that you might as well go do something else. Or you can get very purposeful about what you're doing, get into the right training, which you're in, get in the right consulting, get into the right coaching, and find models and systems to move you forward. Okay, now I want to walk you through something. Our world has been thrown for a loop over the last few weeks. I mean, just absolutely thrown for a loop. Here's what's happened. Your fundamental ceiling of achievement has moved. It's moved. And maybe what it was that was easy for you before is no longer easy. And I think about it that, let's say you were in the house and your house had 12-foot ceilings and now it has 8-foot ceilings. And you're hitting a ceiling on things or new things that you've never experienced before. And I want you to be careful. I said yesterday on the morning call, on the 8 a.m. call, that the adrenaline rush that we've had for the first 2 weeks to just get into some action is over, and it's time to get systematized. So let me walk you through this. The last 2 weeks, my guess would be, and you can type it in the chat box, the last 2 weeks is, my guess is that you've probably talked to more people than you've ever talked to before. You've worked with people, you've checked in on people, like you've been maybe more purposeful in your business than you had before. And why did you do that? Because you had the drive and the enthusiasm and the intuition that it should be done. Now, you relied on your natural behavior and you were spontaneous in the activities that you were doing. And here's what will happen when that's where you live. You're going to hit a ceiling of achievement. You're going to hit a ceiling of achievement where you go, oh my gosh, this isn't working. Oh my gosh, nobody's buying. Nobody's lending. What am I supposed to do? This is not helping me. And you might get dejected. You might get frustrated. And you might go, you know what? I just need to wait till all this is over before I get back after it again. I'm telling you, don't do that. If that's the attitude that comes to you, then we've got to get back into training, get back into coaching, get back into consulting. And when you do that, when you move out of your entrepreneurial style and you break through that ceiling and get into your purposeful style, then here's what you do. You start to do what comes unnaturally. And when you do that, you apply a different focus. You change the strategy. You have different options. You start following models and systems, and you add accountability. And that's what we're doing today, is we're talking about the models and systems that you've got to implement. And so we've got about 20 minutes left before I open it up to some ahas. So I want to dive in to the section on lead gen. And don't worry, I'm covering everything. So I'm just skipping some slides to get us ahead. And I want to talk about shifting your lead generation and your lead conversion. And I want you to think about it. The value of lead generation and lead conversion is really important now that the market has shifted, because there's fewer leads to be found. And I think for most of us that we don't always adore our lead generation. It's not our favorite thing to do every day. You might not be feeling it. And so I want you to type in the box, if you will. What are some things, either now or in the past, that have kept you from doing lead gen when you know you should do it? What sorts of things have popped up that have prevented you from picking up the phone and calling your database, or knocking on the door, which you're not going to do now, or doing whatever? Somebody says, me, everything in life, what hasn't? Okay, here we go. Rejection, mindset, excuses, fear, mindset, thinking I'm bothering people, insecurity, busy work, rejection. All right, so we get them all. So now stop typing in those. We're good. We got enough. Stop typing in those. Stop typing in those. Stop typing in those. Stop typing in those. Chris, you're funny. Now, type in the box, what things have changed in the last 2 weeks that have caused you to lead generate differently? What's changed in the last 3 weeks that have caused you to lead generate differently? I'm seeing mindset. I'm seeing focus. I have more time, a sense of urgency, a necessity, my income, my mindset, my own fear of loss, me caring about people, my income concerns. Okay, there you go. We're good. You can stop typing now. You can stop typing. You can stop typing. You have bills to pay, Chuck says. Yeah. Those are all good things. I think one thing that's changed is this. I think what's changed is we've now gotten to the point where we care more about the people who live outside of or more about the people who live inside our house than outside. And here's what I mean by that. When I said this to them a while back, I said, we've got to get to the point where we care more about the people who live inside our house than we do about the people who live outside our house. What I mean by that, it's not insensitive. It doesn't mean I don't care about the people. Let me explain to you what I mean by it. When we say I don't want to pick up the phone and I don't want to call people because I'm worried I'm going to bother them, or I'm worried that they're going to reject me, or I'm worried I'm going to annoy them, we're giving those people a lot of power over what happens inside of our house. What's changing right now is, and Joe, I love Joe Kipping, he's one of my favorite agents, fear that my family doesn't get taken care of first. See, what Joe's done is he's gone, look, I have to take care of the people inside of my house, therefore I have to call the people outside of my house. That's an important message. We lead generate not only so we can help the people outside, most importantly, so we can help the people inside. That's why we're doing it. And we've got to talk to our people at the end of the day. We've got to talk to them. So here's something I'd like for us to consider. And this is on page number 41 of the PDF. And this might be some homework that you might look at. I'm not going to check it. This is just if you choose to. It's kind of like school in Florida right now. If you like to do the homework, great. Everyone's moving up anyway. So if you want, do this homework. And I want you to go look at some things. And go look at the last week and figure out, number one, how many contacts did you make in the last week? How many of those contacts would you define as a lead? How many of those leads became appointments, and how many became signed contracts? And go look at your data. Now, here's what I think you might discover over this time period, and that's this. And Dan in Largo in Tampa Bay, he brought this up to me this morning. And he said yesterday he made 75 contacts. He made 75 contacts yesterday, and that turned into something like 75 calls, and it turned into 25 contacts. And he said, normally that would not be the number. More people are home. He's leading into more opportunity. So I want you to think about what contacts you've got to make that are going to lead to opportunity for you. And yesterday we looked a little bit about that. Now I'm going to go into the shift book. So now I'm in the shift book. And I'm going to go to page 49. And I'm going to read some stuff to you on page 49. And I'd like for you to type your ahas in the box. And Ashley hit one of them already. More people are answering the phone right now. It's absolutely true. In bold, we used to say they're home, they're happy, and they're do business with me. Well, we at least know the first part of that affirmation is true. I'm going to read to you out of the book, and then we're going to chat a little bit about chapter 4 and get some ahas, and then we're going to be done for today. Just because the market has moved from more to less doesn't mean you have to. As leads become fewer, you must recognize the situation, make a more concerted effort to lead generate for them. You cannot sit back. You must be more rigorous and more resolute in your lead generation than ever before, and more so than anyone else. In fact, now is the time for you to shift your lead generation activities into the highest gear possible. So I would want to hear from some people. Ashley, we're going to hear from some of our friends. I'd like to know, in what ways have you shifted your lead generation activities into the highest gear possible? Because that's what Gary says we have to do. When the market moves from more to less, doesn't mean we have to. As leads become fewer, we must recognize the situation, make a more concerted effort to generate them. We cannot sit back. We must be more rigorous, more resolute in our lead gen than ever before, and more so than any time else. And now's the time to shift. Mark, you're the first one up. How have you shifted your lead generation activities into the highest gear possible?
It started for me with just refining my scripts, going back and making sure that I was nailing the script exactly the way the script has proven itself to be effective. Then number 2, shifting priorities and who I'm calling, making sure that I've incorporated, the biggest thing is incorporating the question, the, oh, by the way, comment that, we talked about. So, oh, by the way, who do you know that I should be talking to right now? That's been the biggest thing for me, is just getting better at the scripts that I'm using.
So what scripts are you using, Mark? Let's share with the group.
Well, when I did an exercise yesterday, I was just figuring out where's the best. I think sellers are the key to getting through the shift, right? That's what Gary talks about: leads, listings, leverage. And then I said, all right, well, where do I need to be focusing? Where am I going to get my lead sources of sellers from? And going through and talking about the scripts of second homeowners in our area, going through and talking about this, and just the simple conversation of, hey, how are you being affected at your primary home? And secondly, have you given any thought at all to putting your home that's down here in Florida on the market?
So, and you're starting, I imagine, with a care call, so it's starting as a care call and then it's transitioning into a real estate conversation.
Exactly. And if they say not at this time, of course you're saying not at this time, we're not sure we want to do anything right now. Our buyers even still buying, we're going back to our low reports. How many houses we put under contract last week? And the other question that we're asking is, if you were deciding to sell, what are the things that you would want to watch for? So that way you would know it's the right time to sell. And then we're sharing the app. So if you want to know about home values in the neighborhood, here's a great way to keep on track with that, and so on and so forth.
How have those conversations gone? So as you're calling someone, hey, it's Mark at Keller Williams. I'm thinking about you. I wanted to check in, see how you're doing. How's your family going? What's going on? How is the conversation going when you transition into real estate? Are they open and receptive to it?
More so than I thought they would be. So my initial calls right now are, like I said, sphere, and more so than I thought they would be. I've sucked at calling my sphere for a long time, and it's been very easy. And people are naturally asking about how I'm doing, and when you show that they care, that you care about them, then they naturally want to care about you. And they're willing to say, yeah, I'm absolutely open to keep my eyes open. When I'm calling the second homeowners, I'm just starting to do that right now. I'm just finding that, again, it comes back to that education.
Got it, Mark. Thank you. You added a lot of value, because I think there's a lot of people that go, I can't have a real estate conversation right now. I think you can, as long as you've handled it the right way. Care, compassion, common sense. The 3 C's, even though they don't all start with C's. Care, compassion, common sense are really important right now. Or they do all start with C's. Ashley Parr, she was typing in the box. Ashley, can we find Ashley Parr, and can you unmute her? I know she'll be real happy to share. And what she was typing in the box was really, really, really good. So Ashley, let me know when you have her.
I need her to raise her hand so I can.
Oh, Ashley Parr, will you raise your hand so that Ashley in the region can unmute you? Here we go. Ashley, I want you to share with everyone what you typed in the box.
Oh yeah, I didn't put it for everyone to see, sorry. I said that we had shifted our focus to really diving into our database for everyone on our team, and just really coming from contribution at this point. So our conversations have shifted from, who do you know who's looking to buy or sell, to what can we do to help you right now? I know things are a little crazy. Is there anything real estate or not real estate related that we can do for you right now. And then we are still consistently cold calling expires for sell by owners and circle prospecting. However, we really want to dive into the focus of our database because at the end of the day, through a shift, we know that database is what's really going to pull us through that. Everything else is really supplemental at this time. So that's kind of what we're focusing on. And we also did up our contact standards on the team. So each person, whether it's operations, ISAs, agents, everyone has to hit a 19 contact minimum right now per person. So, and that's over an average. So, you know, we're up in our game a little bit.
Yeah, well, you have to, and I appreciate it, Ashley. Thanks for sharing that. I love it. Christina Griffin, would you raise your hand because you typed something great in there, and I want to come to you as well. So Christina, raise your hand for me. Here we go. Your hand is up. Ashley's going to unmute you. And you're talking about, hey, everybody's home. Now's the time to call.
Hi, James. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great.
Okay, good. Awesome. Yes, now is absolutely the time to call. For sale by owners have been highly responsive. Pull up all the expireds in your area that haven't been relisted. Now is a great time, but we have quite a few different levers that we're working on and that we've created. Investors, renters, you know, I can dive into any of them, whatever you like.
Well, I'm just saying what you've done is you're making sure your calls happen and you've identified specific people that you want to reach out to. Mm-hmm. And you have not stopped prospecting.
No, absolutely not. All I've been doing since this started, because I do a high level of foreclosures as well. I've sold thousands of them and I've been through quite a few shifts and just creating opportunity that the team can work from home and still create income. You know, a lot of people don't realize that you can have renters self-show on a Rently box, and you can get permission from large management companies to market their properties on Facebook Marketplace and make $500, and you don't even have to leave your house.
Yeah, there's lots of different options out there right now.
Lots of different ways.
Christina, what I heard from you though is it's database first still. So before people look to add strategies and ideas and lead generation buckets, we've got to master the database first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd highly recommend, you know, just cleaning up your entire address book. A lot of my coaching clients have had really great success just texting everybody that script I posted. And one of them received over 300 responses, and it just, everything was positive. People were excited to hear from them. So I highly recommend that.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Appreciate you very much. Thank you for sharing. All right. There's one more thing I'm going to cover, and I'm going to come back and cover some of this other stuff in a minute. There's one thing, though, I want to cover because I'm going to ask you to do this homework, and then we're going to come back and check on this starting tomorrow as we begin to wrap up. And that is page number 55. Ashley, would you put this in the box so everybody can see it? Page number 55 of the workbook. Page 55 of the workbook. And here's the homework I'd like for you to do, and we're going to check on it tomorrow morning. And that is, I'd like you to go through and look and see where are your leads coming from. Whether you look at the whole year, you know, since January, or you go back and look at 2019, it doesn't really matter to me. I want you to figure out find your top 10 lead sources. What are the top 10 places that brought you leads? Christina just gave you several different categories she's using. What are the top 10 lead sources for you? And then I want you to prioritize them 1 to 10 based on the one that's bringing you the most leads, and then the 10th was the one that brought you the fewest. And I'm going to walk you through how to use a shift strategy to help you with that. So you're going to go through and rank your top 10 lead sources. What are the top 10? Rank them, and then we're going to tackle that tomorrow. All right, we've covered a lot today. My goodness. And tomorrow we're going to finish the lead gen piece and then get into lead conversion. I trust this has been good for you. I want to hear some ahas. So I want to hear from 3 people, some ahas. If you'll raise your hand. And Ashley, we have a good system now, which is great because it's just, they're popping up on my screen. I think it's great. Raise your hand, and I want to hear some ahas from today and make sure we had some value for your time. So who's going to start us off, Ashley?
Waiting for a hand.
Oh, well, no one has an aha. I learned just how little I know, Brian says. Look, every day we're learning. Every day we're growing better. A day we didn't learn is, I don't know, not a day worth living. So here we go. Crystal, you're the first one up. I know you've got a big aha. What have you gotten out of today's call?
One of the things I really appreciated was certain things that I'm going to be, or I thought I was going to be canceling certain services. Instead, I'm going to make personal phone calls, and that way maybe there is a win-win where I can still keep the service but do it at a lower cost. And one of those is one of my lead gen sources. So I'm going to try to give them a call today instead of canceling online.
I love it. Thank you so much, Crystal. I appreciate you very much. Ken says, mind share today is market share tomorrow. I love that. That's really smart. Okay, we've got another Crystal who's going to share. Crystal, what's your aha? Oh, she's muted again. We had her, and then there we go. Crystal, you're on.
I'm a very seasoned realtor. I've been through 7 ups and downs. I thought I knew it all, but oh my gosh, this is a whole different ball game. And you are doing an incredible job of bringing in some great ideas, and I'm going to kick butt and take names.
Well, Crystal, you go do that. And the thing is, you've got to do the implementation, right? I can't give you the desire. I can't give you the motivation. That's on you. Go after it. I love it. I think it's Mary Jane. It's kind of, yeah, Mary Jane says, everyone is concerned about the value of their home as a market shifts, which is true. Everyone should be put on a neighborhood smart plan. Yes. Then follow up with a phone call to make sure they're getting it and ask if they know anyone else that would like to get one. Mary Jane, that is genius. Thank you for putting it in the box. Ellen, you're up.
I'm a transaction coordinator for a team, and I appreciated the part about bulletproofing your transaction and the note about pre-inspections. We talk about it a good bit on our team and do it sometimes, but it's just a really good idea as part of the bulletproofing process. Just to knock that out, you know, seller expectations, be able to talk to a potential buyer about what might come up, just to set expectations up front with that pre-inspection. I love that.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. Thank you. And sorry to whomever's coughing. Hope they're okay. No, that's good. I love it. Thank you. Bulletproof. I love it. Russ says, if your website is not producing leads, then it's obsolete and needs updating to focus on the buyer and the seller, right? So that we know what they want, what they're looking for. Someone said, James Shaw for president. No, thank you. This is really what we've been taught, regardless of our situation. Number 1, lead gen. Number 2, work the database. And number 3, focus on one thing. That's smart. That's an aha that came in here. Appy says she's going to use this time to get up to speed with Command, her database in Command, and the tools that it has. I love that. Okay. Oh, I lost that one. Sorry, Ashley. We lost whoever that aha was. And then, oh, here we go. Joy. Oh, my goodness. Is this Joy Woodruff is on the line? I am so excited. She's muted. When she gets unmuted, we can. There we go. Joy, is it really you? Oh, it just says Joy. Who is it that we just unmuted?
It should be Joy Woodruff.
Well, that's what it says.
I don't know what happened to her.
That's all right. She's fantastic. She's a legend, an absolute legend in Keller Williams. I always love to hear from Joy. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. Ashley, did we get it done today?
Yes. Awesome. Awesome job.
Thank you. So tomorrow we're going to dive into what prospecting is working for you. Then we're going to talk about how your day should look and what sorts of things you should be accomplishing. Joy, are you there? Oh, no, we lost her. All right. So how the day should look, who you should be lead generating to, and how we convert the business. That's what we're really going to look at. We'll probably get into a little bit of pricing tomorrow. I'm telling you, the North Florida region's amazing for what they're doing. Friends, thank you for connecting with me today. If you need me, send me a text, 813-523-8459, or find me on Instagram. Ashley, we'll do it again tomorrow. We'll see you then.
See you tomorrow. Thank you, Jane.
Bye-bye.